But what would be the next step? Yeah, are we bold enough to go for the Bundesliga? And if we want to, how can we actually do that? Are we bold enough to close the gap to the top European teams further and be crowned champions of Europe one of these days? What is the concept? What is the vision? What's the aim? So, Richard, I'm asking you, what about hungry for more? What type of club do we want to be? What do you think?
A wonderful question. Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. Now, I listened to every word with great interest. And on the other hand side, I think it's just some kind of like a mind game.
True. You're right.
Okay, there is this guy. Imagine we get rewarded with a penalty.
One thing's for sure. Emil's not going to take it.
Within the first 10 minutes, and then there's Manuel Riemann in the goal line, and everyone thinks that, and then this, that I know that game starts.
Welcome to RB Global Tracks, Leipzig's fresh RB Leipzig podcast in English. And it's brought to you by Richard and Mario. And amongst us, we are season ticket holders, passionate supporters, and not very neutral local pundits. Both of us have been following Leipzig football since our childhood days. So if you want to hear about RB Leipzig, capture the mood of the fans in the city, and if you want to go beyond numbers and statistics, you are in the right place. We're delighted to welcome you on board. Let's go. Auf geht's. Leipziger Jungs. Good evening, Richard.
Good evening, Mario. Nice to hear you. Nice to see you. I thought you would ask me how I'm feeling today, but you didn't. But I will answer anyway.
Didn't ask you.
Never mind. So, yeah, I'm good. I'm still recovering from Sunday night. I visited a rock concert, with all those sport stuff going on, mosh pits and so on. And I've got pretty much bruises still on my back and my legs. They hurt still, but nevertheless, I'm looking forward for the next one. And it will be on Friday. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, whatever rocks your boat, mate. Whatever rocks your boat. Hopefully you have recovered from those bruises. What are we going to talk about today? Well, let's look at our key takeaways from the match versus Mirsamir FC Bayern München. I'm afraid we have to. But we're also going to wonder about whatever happened to the slogan and motto, hungry for more. More to be revealed in a few minutes. And of course, we're going to look at our next opponent, probably the hard nut to crack again, VfL Bochum. So let's get started with some key takeaways from the München match last Saturday. Gosh, we were optimistic, weren't we? We went into that match thinking, they're vulnerable. And, Tuchel had announced he's going to leave the club in the summer. So a lot of upheaval. And he wasn't sitting with the team. He was sitting on some sort of silver suitcase or whatever that was. And that just fitted his character. I thought that was okay. Of course, we lost 2-1 and we lost in injury time. That did hurt a lot. When watching the first half, the impression was, okay, nothing much happened apart from 2 great chances for Bayern Munich. RB Leipzig was a little bit harmless in the attack. And my gut feeling was, crap. I'm sorry for the wording, but if we continue like that, we're going to lose 2-0. So it was really refreshing to hear and to see that RB Leipzig upped their game in the second half, and they were on par pretty much with Bayern Munich. We were on level terms up to the end, but Xavi was taken off in the 87th minute, as a lot of fans criticized, because it seemed that RB Leipzig stopped playing for the 3 points. That's just the feedback we've got. And unfortunately, extra coincidence, extra effort by Chopo, who I actually liked. I like the guy. He seemed to get longer and longer, and he crossed the ball into the box where, amazingly, €100 million gentleman from the UK, from North London, scored the decisive goal. A dagger into our hearts, I know. So we lost 2-1, but there are still some key takeaways from this match, and the biggest one for me is, well, we are still not a top level German Bundesliga football team. Bayern München, Leverkusen are ahead of us, and they just seem to want 3 points more than we do, just that little bit. So they have managed to beat us in injury time. VfB Stuttgart is a different story because I think they are extraordinary performance for this year, and they are still out to. Well, they have to prove that they're still going to be in at least third spot until the end of the season. I do enjoy watching them play, though I must admit. And in the years to come, they must prove that they can sustain this level of football. But what I also found was that Blaswig is extremely reliable. I know he's been put into goal by Marco Rose because Pete is injured, and we keep our fingers crossed that he gets well soon, very, very soon. But Blaswig had a very good day, and he reacted brilliantly in a lot of situations, and he kept us in the game. So when we talk about our goalkeepers, I am not worried at all. Just one question, Richard. What do you think when Pete Gulaschi comes back? Can we take it for granted that he'll be back in the starting 11, or is Marco Rose now changing his mind? What do you think?
No, I don't expect Marco to change his mind because he made this decision once a few weeks ago, and then he declared that, hey, Gulaschi is at 100% and he is our number one. And he told us that Blaswig did a great job in be the one between our goalposts during this long-term injury Pete had. And even now, even with this one, it was quite good. Like he had most of the games he played for us. Yannis had outstanding performances, though a few mistakes in recently. Versus Bayern, it was really good. It was remarkable good. But I'm dang sure that Pete will return once he's ready to play.
Okay. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the summer, but that's still a couple of months away. There was also a scene which is on my mind about our good friend Joshua Kimmich. Joshua Kimmich, I'm not sure if he was really fouled by Openda. He was rolling on the pitch. But as he was rolling around, he made sure that, I think it was his right leg, was straight up in the air, hitting Openda right where it counts. I think Openda has a high voice now. A lot of people said, well, was that on purpose? To me, I'm sorry, it did look like it was on purpose. I'm so sorry. Kimmich knew what he was doing there. And to be honest, I do remember what he is given to the club and during the time when he played here. But I for sure did not appreciate that move. I'm so sorry. So I think that was well out of order, and he was lucky to stay on the pitch. But when I also was looking through some messages on Twitter, some people said, so I had with the impression that they were not really happy with the way RB Leipzig was performing, especially in the first half. Really harmless in attack, and sort of almost a little bit afraid of Bayern Munich, and not the confident team that we would like to see. What do you think, Richard? Is this a fair description, or is there something else to it?
Well, if you play an away game at Bayern Munich, it's the Germans' top side, though they're struggling a little bit this season. But still, this team is extremely difficult to beat for any team on the globe in the football world. And if you're an RBL supporter and expect that our team is capable of outperforming and outscoring any opponent in every game, in every second of a game, then you just check your expectations, manage your expectations, guys. It is just not. It is beyond my imagination that there will ever be a club who's capable of doing this. Even so, Bayern Munich last game away at Bochum, so they lost 3-2. And you always think, okay, this is something that never should happen, but it happens, and it happens like Like, Bayern is still traveling to Bochum and they're winning like 15 out of 20, like 4 draws, and then 1 out of 20 they lose. And it was just that game. And if you bear this in mind and then put this into proportion, so of our performance at Munich, overall, I think it was quite okay. And you said it was pretty even, though we hadn't a really chance in the first half, especially. But our club, our players, well, came out of the halftime, and suddenly they came out with more confidence. So I thought, and to me, it was a little bit unlucky that we lost this. So I would say it's not because the other team wanted it more. No, it was the individual effort from that outstanding 100 million euro guy that Bayern Munich had in this yes, central striking department, and really nice pass. So you mentioned Schupo. Okay, he had this final effort just before the goal, but the initial long ball came right from the midfield, from, I think it was Dyer, and was dang close to be offside. So you know maybe sometimes this is just unluckiness and some coincidences, that you're on the wrong side of the results column, if you're losing in injury time. And yes, I think it's fair to argue that Marco Rose changed Xavi 3 minutes before the end of regulation, and that you don't have that feeling, hey, okay, we're going for the win here. But do you have to go for 3 points in any time, in any game? I don't think so. I think it is okay to be satisfied with 1 point, especially if you bear in mind that we had our game versus Leverkusen where we lost, um, yeah, seconds before the final. It was also very unlucky, and you would like to prevent that to happen once more. I think it's a discussion that maybe will never find an ending, because it's also okay if you're saying, if you're afraid to win, you will lose. So okay, don't play to protect, play to win. It's fair, and but it's I think at the end of the day, this is not decisive for the outcome of a whole season. Um, the coach made this decision, and I'm okay with that. You can criticize for him, but this is, in my opinion, never an anchor to put this man on the line for the coaching job in general.
I agree with that point, that it is still not time to question Marco Rose, but we may come on to that in our next section when we wonder what ever happened to Hungry for More. But another key takeaway, and surprising key takeaway from the whole match day, is that the 4th place of the Bundesliga, I think it's cursed. Nobody really wants it. Because on the next day, TSG Hoffenheim beat Borussia Dortmund in Dortmund. And thank you, TSG Hoffenheim. We really appreciate that. So it seems like Dortmund and Leipzig kind of waiting for the next club to arrive, which is Eintracht Frankfurt, but they don't seem to be eager to close up either. So let's see where that takes us. Still, the race is still on. We're still in a good position. We can still get there, and Dortmund will have come they will have to place at Leipzig. So still everything to play for. But let's move on to our next section. And a couple of days ago, I came across the motto that we had in 2019, and that was called #Hungry for More. So what about Hungry for More, I hear you say, Richard? Well, I cast my mind back to summer 2019, and when RB Leipzig introduced that slogan. And that was the time when we just finished our first Bundesliga season with a pretty respectable 3rd place. So we qualified for the UEFA Champions League. In the previous season, we didn't qualify for the Champions League, so we played in the Europa League and crashed out in the group stages. Do you remember that? That was really dire. But for the first time, we reached the DFB Pokal final. Lost 3-0 to Bayern Munich, but we were there for the first time, trying to suss out the situation in the ground. As we know, in the future, we knew what to do. And remember that Ralf Rangnick was the manager for 1 year, which was a bit surprising. It was sort of an interim manager because we were waiting for Julian Nagelsmann. And Julian Nagelsmann got the extra 12 months to finish his job at Hoffenheim. So it was a pretty acceptable, respectable season. It was also a season where in the first half, we were pretty close to the leaders, Bayern Munich. And there was a feeling that we could get quite close in challenging them for the championship. But in the winter, Diego Demme, a long-standing and really key player for RB Leipzig, changed to the Italian league, and he went to play for SSC Neapel. So we let him go. So sort of like a parallel this year. And after the season, in the summer, we lost Ilsangar and Cunha. But we had some interesting new additions with Kunku and Schick. And later in January, Angelino Nolmo arrived. But everybody was eager to see what would happen. There was a certain buzz in the city because we knew the slogan "Hungry for More" meant we want to take the next step. We want to win titles because at the time we hadn't won any titles. And there was a belief and a vision and ambition that we would actually get some national titles. And we qualified for the Champions League. Julian Nagelsmann arrived as a very young and talented manager who would take over actually an exciting team. And the expectation I remember I had as well was, okay, he's going to be there for 3-4 years. There's going to be a continuity. He's going to have time to shape and form a new team and bring them to the next level, advance them from the RB Leipzig DNA of just, of pressing, and add some tactical finesse. Make him a lot more versatile. And that was pretty much the expectation, but it was also the expectation that would take time between 2, 3, 4 years. So hungry for more at that time meant we're going to take you to the next level, and the next level, hungry for more, means we're going to get titles. That's what we're hungry for. Now, fast forward to today and to 2024. Well, in summer 2023, we know we lost a lot of key players. We don't need to go mention them all again because it kind of hurts too much. Generate a lot of profits, but we have a couple of titles on our belt. 2 DFB Pokal titles. But did we win them with one coach? No, there was a lot of disruption on the way. 2 coaches, Domenico Tedesco came in after it emerged in the second season of Julian Nagelsmann that it was always his dream to coach FC Bayern München. So we let him go as well. We sold him. They sold him for lots of money. But it was the first sort of upheaval. And I also remember during that time, the position of a sporting director was vacant. So the now CEO Minslav apparently did all the a lot of negotiations as well, had a lot of influence. But I think it's fair to say he does not have the football background or the network there. But they put together a very exciting team. But at the time they communicated as well, they have the A+++ solution in the wings coming to Leipzig. We just would have to be more patient. And that would be somebody then with a big network, with a big expertise, and they would be there for a long time and provide the continuity and a plan and a vision and a concept. And remember, Max Eberl came in, not during that time, but he came in not so long ago. And you had this feeling in the transfer window of summer 2023, something's happening here, something which is going to be built for the future, very exciting, and could potentially put us in the next level. Also, Marc Rose had worked with him before, all hunky-dory. Then, of course, Max Eberl left, another disruption. But despite all of that, the new team, the new additions with Golpenda, with Xavi, wonderful additions with Šeško, and they all seem to be working really well. The start of the season was very good. But then we had to go about and wreck it again in that sense and create more disruption by letting Forsberg go, by letting Werner go. I know he wasn't in the team, but now it would be nice to have an additional striker and to have more options there in the attack, I think. So instead of trying to continue with a solid plan and then a vision, no, upheaval again. So now I'm actually asking myself, okay, given the fact that we need to be qualifying for the Champions League. We have some players who help us this year, like this season, like Xavi, but he's very likely to leave next season. There are rumors about Šeško. There will be rumors about Gopenda as well, because they keep scoring all the time. Werner is basically gone. We don't have a sporting director. Yes, Rufen Schröder is there, but the more senior position is still vacant. It's, we talked about a couple of episodes ago that with Olmo, there's a clause that he can leave for 60 million euros. And actually, these 60 million euros are actually budgeted. So it seems the club needs to generate profits from developing players and selling players. But I asked myself, what is the next step? Whatever happened? What about hungry for more? Because we have now won a couple of titles, national titles, with the DFB Pokal and the maybe not so significant Super Cup. But what would be the next step? Yeah, are we bold enough to go for the Bundesliga? And if we want to, how can we actually do that? Are we bold enough to close the gap to the top European teams further and be crowned champions of Europe one of these days? What is the concept? What is the vision? What's the aim? So, Richard, I'm asking you, what about hungry for more? What type of club do we want to be? What do you think?
A wonderful question. Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. Now, I listened to every word with great interest because you're spot on. What kind of club do RBL want to be? And well, at first, I think no one knows yet. So because there is a guy missing, like Ralf Rangnick, because there is no one, no stage hawk, no convincer, no one who burns for the club, who's willing to tear himself apart for anything that is related to the club. And obviously, Ralf Rangnick was this guy, because I remember quite well how Emil joined us in 2015. I think it was. Yeah, it was almost 9 years. It wasn't then 2015, and he came out of his season with Malmö FF out of the Allsvenskan. And I remember that one game in the last qualifying match, Malmö had to play at Salzburg. It was the first leg match, and Malmö won there, for me surprisingly at least, with 2-1. And Amy scored the game winner. And I thought, oh, what's this for a guy? Hey, he made a brilliant game. And obviously, it wasn't only me who recognized that, and that does basically mean you don't have to have much knowledge about football to be able to recognize that he's an outstanding player. But what I'm talking about is what I'm wondering what Ralf Rangnick did tell him and his management that is the very best idea to leave a first league Swedish club who played in the Champions League, and he played 6 Champions League games, to join a second league, club in the second Bundesliga, who has great vision and aims. But imagine he was 24, I think, 24 years old, at the very starting point of his career. So Ralf must have had some extraordinary, convincing points that Emil come to this conclusion, yes, go into the second Bundesliga is the very best I can do for my career. And look where we are now. So we are now a permanent European contender and contender in in European competitions in football. We are in every year, or we managed to win both 2 titles, so 2 Pokals recently in the last 2 seasons. So that comes into my mind that now, if we now would have one guy who is similar to Ralf Rangnick, it must have been, or it must be much easier to find the right convincing arguments that to convince players to join us, and even if it is 1 year not the UCL, so in quotation marks only Europa League. So
we are spoiled, aren't we? I mean, all the discussions that I follow also in fellow podcasts, German podcasts, like for fans, it's not a discussions about not qualifying for international football or not. For qualifying for international football or not. It's about the fact, are we going to qualify for Champions League or just Europa League? So it sounds conceited to others, like, Werder Bremen. They would love to have this luxury problem, I think. But it also shows that in the short space of time, in these, since its existence, or since the, let's say, 3rd division, which is 10 years now, we've come a long way in a short space of time. And it was always successful. Each year was a success. There was only a couple of setbacks, I would say. The first year in the 2nd division, when we didn't qualify for promotion, so we had to go and play again in the 2nd Bundesliga, and I disregard the ones in the Oberliga and Regionalliga. And so we only qualify, in quotation marks, for Europa League, and that was pretty much the only setback we had, because after that it was only qualification for Champions League, and in all these years, so we are extremely spoiled. And I'm not sure how a lot of people would react if we didn't qualify for any international football. And maybe there's a concern that less people would attend those games. I think we all could live with that, to be honest, because if you're only interested in extremely successful football, then I'm not sure if you're in the right place. And also, okay, the other concern is if you don't play for qualify for the Champions League, then you don't attract high caliber players.
Maybe that's a question. Is it really like that? Because this was the point I was trying to describe. Okay, Emil in his early 20s surely wasn't at the top lad. Yeah, no, top guy in European football. No, he wasn't. He was a development player, but I'm sure he could have joined any other club in the first league somewhere, like in Italy or France, or maybe in Germany too. So yeah, to wrap this up, I think we need one guy. We need a front office. We need a sporting director who will tell us the vision. So what kind of club do we want to be? And me.
If I interrupt you there, I think a good example is Bayer Leverkusen of last year, who had a dismal start in the beginning of the season and really improved towards the end of the season. It was a really solid and great team. I mean, and the additions they made were just outstanding. Now you have a solid team like that, irrespective of the fact if they manage to win these trophies in the championships. I'm not sure if they would actually stick together like that in the next season, and also if the coach stays there. But that was a remarkable development. Would you foresee something similar for RB Leipzig with the, let's say, right sporting director?
Of course, of course, I do, and I think there are 4 clubs at least in Germany whose. Well, no, the approach of those 4 clubs should always be, hey, we want to be a contender for the championship, like Bayern, of course, Dortmund, of course, and then, Leverkusen, and it should be RBL. And in addition of that, maybe from time to time, maybe Gladbach or maybe Stuttgart now, maybe even Frankfurt one day. So not every season, but at least those top 4 sides should have it must have been the goal. I cannot imagine that it would have been in the spirit and in his mind of Dietrich Mateschitz, that Red Bull is a brand. For this brand, and it's okay just being part of something. No. Where Red Bull is labeled on, this is top side.
You're right. If I look at the German Ice Hockey League with EIC Red Bull München, by the way, totally owned by Red Bull guys. Everybody who once follows ice hockey, they don't have a problem with that. They're not champions of last year, but the years before that, and they are top side again this year. Beat my team Frankfurt last night. I don't forgive him. Okay. Well, I thought it was interesting in light of recent events and the current mood in the city and also amongst the fans in the stadium. And it's something we will definitely keep an eye on and have to get through on a high level, though. We're not talking about relegation here. So let's move on to our last part. The hard nut to crack is back. VfL Bochum. We go deep in den Westen, Richard. What can we expect?
Introducing our next opponent, their Gegner check.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me ask you one question. Like so often, I did this with you.
I dreaded this.
What was
Funny statistic? Let me guess. Funny statistic?
Okay, listen carefully. What does Bayern Munich, VfB Stuttgart, wait a second, I have to check my notes. What do Bayern, Stuttgart, Frankfurt, and Bochum have in common this season?
They are part of the Erste Bundesliga.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, you're right.
I'm just a smart ass.
And this is the only 4 teams that only lost once at home.
No, Bochum?
Yeah. They only lost to Mönchengladbach in the early of the season, and after that they played. They had a 1-1 draw. I think it was against Dortmund. They beat Stuttgart at home, and most recently, I think everyone recognized they beat Bayern Munich at home 3-2. And in general, so this seems to be a hard to beat team on their home ground. So this is why it's gonna be a hard nut to crack again.
Not again.
Yeah, but yeah. But there are some factors we have to bear in mind, because every time I think of Bochum, and before I started preparing this episode, I was convinced that we always had issues with Bochum, especially in away games. But as I looked up the results, and especially in away games, it turned out that this was pure recency bias to me. So we won our first 8 games ever, so 7 times in the league, and including second Bundesliga, and 1 time in the Pokal, before we lost 2-0-1 to Bochum on match day 24 last season. And maybe this loss is still spot on to me because it came after the
don't mention it. No, don't hear it.
This one certain game that happened in March. There was this Norwegian guy was involved, and a lot of goals on the wrong side.
This blonde guy, huh? Yeah, this blonde guy.
He's pretty good. Could develop something here. And the very last match we played against Bochum was the 0-0 draw with 2 missed penalties. I think all of us remember that with some bleeding heart. And interestingly, this game came again after a loss to Man City. So I think in general it's some recency bias, as I mentioned. So no loss to Man City beforehand this time.
Okay.
But considering the last results, shaky defense performances, and inconsistencies in general, I have to admit that I'm not bursting with confidence in our players to get away with 3 points here, but I'm still pretty sure that there are really, really good chances that we will. So because, first of all, good news. Mr. Inexpugnable in terms of scoring goals on penalties by RBL players. Number 1, Manuel Riemann, is out for the game due to a yellow card suspension. He saw his 5th yellow card in the most recent match at Mönchengladbach because he complained a little bit too hard against the ref.
Mm.
In the most spectacular way. He fucked it up, excuse my language. Because he ran like 50 meters all over the ground to complain something, not decisive the decisions, and he had so many seconds to rethink his decision and think, oh no, I'm on 4 yellow cards, maybe I should leave it out now. He finished his job and did what he had to do, and so the ref had to do.
Well, why do you think that's good news? I know he kept out everything that RB Leipzig players were asking him and shooting at him, especially those two penalties.
Yeah,
do you think the second goalie is not as crazy, as good?
Yeah, first of all, he is a good goalie in my opinion. I think he's in the upper half of all Bundesliga goalies. And on the other hand side, I think it's just some kind of like a mind game.
True, you're right.
There is this guy. Imagine we get rewarded with a penalty.
One thing's for sure, Emil's not going to take it.
Within the first 10 minutes, and then there's Manuel Riemann on the goal line, and everyone thinks, and then this, that I know that game starts, and I think this is definitely not a disadvantage that he's not around this time.
Okay.
And also not available to finish those not availabilities at the Bochum side is number 4, Erhan Mazovic, defensive midfield, received his yellow card as well. Mm-hmm. And I think he is a pillar and cornerstone. Cornerstone, I think is correct. In defensive midfield. And this is going to be a puzzle Thomas Leitch has to solve how to replace him, because there is another player not around. It's number 6, Patrick Osterhage, who's now out for almost 2 weeks with muscular issues, and it is reported that he will not be available for the upcoming home game versus RBL. So let's take a look who is going to replace Manuel Riemann between the goalposts. I expect number 16, Andreas Lute, to be the goalkeeper.
But that name rings a bell. He's not bad.
Yeah, that rings a bell because I think you remember him with his stint at Union Berlin.
Probably.
Some
very
years
unpleasant.
ago.
Thank you.
Yeah. Excuse me. He's a very experienced goalie. I think he's 35 or 36 years old already. Started his career at Bochum and had the starting goalie job for several seasons, especially in the second Bundesliga, before he went to Augsburg and later to Union, I mentioned already. And now he came back before the start of the season out of Kaiserslautern, clearly as a backup for Riemann.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But so maybe, but I do expect him and not number 23, Niklas Tiede, because he had, no experience at all. And I do expect that Bochum will not hide here.
They won't park the bus this time?
No, they will not, because they're at home, and they beat Stuttgart and they beat Bayern Munich, and they know they need points to avoid relegation. So it is pretty clear that this is their job to gather those points at home in home games.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that should be good for us.
Of course, yeah. And I do expect the little transition formation-wise here compared to the last game. Mm-hmm. And I think they will come up with a 4-2-3-1 with number 19, Bero, next to the returning captain, Lucia. He was out at Gladbach, and Bochum truly missed him, no doubt about that. So now he's back from his yellow card suspension. So Bero and Lucia in defensive midfield, and number 7, Kevin Stöger, as the central offensive midfielder. Then you have the attacking apartment with Asano, who had a pretty good chance in the first leg, in the first match at Leipzig.
I remember.
Yeah, and Broschinski will be, I think, the number 1 attacker here, although he hasn't scored a lot this season. And we will see maybe this guy to watch, a quite familiar name, because Bernardo is with Bochum, number 5, left defensive side, and I think he is more than solid. I think in this squad he is one of the better players, and then this will not be an easy task to get past him. And I remember his offensive qualities as well. So yeah, number 5 Bernardo, I think it's worth the watch here.
Okay. But just to the thing that stuck with me now is VfL Bochum are not going to park the bus, because I remember at Leipzig, our attackers, so we kind of switched off in the last part of the field while attacking, and nothing seemed to have worked. It was not a very attractive match. So it gives me a little bit of hope that it works towards our advantage, because I think our defense is quite solid, and hopefully that would work. And who do you think Marco Rose is actually going to send out this time?
Liebe Fußballfans, wir kommen jetzt zu unserer heutigen Mannschaftsaufstellung.
Okay, if Pete is at 100%, he will be our keeper number 1. I told you already. I think, yeah, you said it. Solid defense, though we have conceded the most goals in the Rückrunde with 12 of every Bundesliga team. So the numbers say something else. But I'm with you. But I'm with you.
The captain is back.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but this is what I'm trying
calms me down a little bit.
Yeah, my confidence in this defensive department is quite good. So I expect no changes here with Henrys, Orban, Shimakan, and Raum to start. For our lads, Schlager's not available because he saw his 5th yellow card, so that will very likely put Kampel in defensive midfield next to Haidara. And of course, our offensive department containing 4 players, Xavi Olmo, Goal, Penda, and Shesko. And all of those 11 will lead us to a 1-0 victory on the road, and the game-winning goal will score Dani Olmo with a converted penalty after 76 minutes. So,
and I predict Goal Panda will get his 5th yellow card. Get it out of the way, mate. Get it out of the way. Get it done.
It could have been worse if he receives this in this game, because if you look at the upcoming game, so after Bochum match, you have Bochum now, then Darmstadt, Köln, and Mainz, and yeah, I do see a 4-game winning streak here, and I say quite frankly, I don't think we will need Goal Panda versus Darmstadt. We will need him in other games, but not versus Darmstadt.
That's true. But I do believe it's going to be 1-0 victory as well. And as we called, dreckiger Arbeitssieg. That's what's going to happen. Okay, let's keep our fingers crossed. Thank you, Richard. Thank you for another episode. And thanks for everyone out there who's been listening to us. We really very much appreciate it. And thanks for your comments and your feedback, like Rodney in the US, who's given us some very encouraging feedback via his favorite platform. And we also got, I had to laugh. A listener from Belgium actually said, yes, it was a steal for Real Madrid. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate that you agree with us. So if you like this podcast, kindly consider subscribing to it. And also, we're very happy to hear from you, either by you leaving a review on your platform. You can also contact us by email at talktous@rbledglobaltracks.com. And on Twitter, you can find us. Our username is podcast_RBL. So thank you very much again, everyone. You guys take care. Have a great weekend. We're looking forward to 3 points again. We're always looking forward to that. And all we need to say now is, auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs.